play Resident Evil. I have Resident Evil? When did I get Resident Evil? Really?
I thought you had all the Resident Evils.
I do for GameCube. When did I get it on PC? Oh, it must have been a Humble Bundle, because yeah, I've got Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 6. Yeah. Alright. I must have got a Humble Bundle for sure then. I just forgot. That makes sense.
You gonna play any of them?
I've been thinking about playing them on GameCube for real.
Man, that Dolphin AMA was pretty cool. That is such a good emulator, man. That really is probably my favorite.
I've never used it.
I know this is exactly what I said the other day, but I just loved the different graphics settings. I was able to tweak and test and trial and error and get things just right, dude. I was able to fuck with my character model in Wind Waker to have the same, like Link had, it almost looked like red hair. It was like his color scheme was like from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Late 80s. It was pretty neat, man. There's I like changed the texture of the shield and everything.
Fucking instruction manual Link.
Dude, yes. Yes. It was so freaking cool, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. See, that's exactly what it was. Instruction manual Link.
Was the model the same? It was just a new skin?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's still cool though.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
Man, somebody, well, so Twilight Loader for the 3DS has been updated, and apparently a lot of games automatically have a widescreen patch. So Twilight Loader is what lets you play DS ROMs in the 3DS native mode. So it's not an emulator. You're running the game as if you had the cart, which is fucking sweet. And yeah, so the 3DS has a wide screen, and apparently there's some widescreen patch. I've only booted up, what game did I boot? Diddy Kong Racing. And it did not have widescreen. I didn't look and see if it was even one of the games. I just gave it a random shot. But yeah,
so does that mean that the aspect ratio is such that you can full screen it?
I don't know. I don't know if it stretches it or if it's some sort of like graphics hack. Man, I think I'm about to buy me a trailer. I might buy me a couple of trailers. I just booted up some old American Truck Simulator. Whew. I guess I can blow my entire budget. A chip van or an insulated. I guess I want a chip van. It's a 47-foot cab. That's a 51-inch cab. I guess what you call a 48 and a 52. Okay, yeah, 48-inch. That's 48-foot. That's what it is. And a 53. Right.
Dude, those are whoppers.
Yeah.
So
See, I don't know.
Well, what the fuck, dude? I'm sorry.
You're good. The question it sounded like you were going to ask is, what do you do with your own trailer?
Well, so let's say you buy a bigger trailer, does that mean like your available jobs will fit that trailer, or is it just like, here's a job, oh shit, you can't do it because your trailer's not big enough?
Well, I don't know. Normally, I just go pick up somebody else's trailer and cargo and deliver that. I've never owned my own trailer. So, I really don't know. I guess I'm about to find out. General dry goods, bulk material, construction equipment. So I can get a regular old flatbed. I can get a logging truck. Okay. Logs, beams, or tubes. Those are pretty cheap. I could get a flatbed and a four-bolster lager. Oh, a container carrier. Okay. So there's all kinds of different trailers you can get. And I think if you get like a chip van, which is just for bulk materials, like just a regular old container, I think you can get like paint it and shit. Same thing for the insulated, that you can get chilled goods in the insulated trailer. I think you can paint it. You gotta put a paint job on it. I've been wanting to get me a classic like 70s Mack truck with the 70s like brown and red paint job. It's a mod.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. Grow a mustache. Grow my pubes back out. Man, dude. All right. So before I get into this, though, this is the Poor Bastard's Almanac 42. And man, I came across a post, and I'm glad you made a note of it that, hey, that'd be a good Poor Bastard post. Yeah, so it's an interview with Noam Chomsky. And I think I want to read through this whole thing. It's long as fuck, I'm sorry. But I think in future episodes, I'd like to dig into these one at a time. So Chomsky makes some point about if the Nuremberg principles were applied to every post-World War II president, U.S. president, they would be indictable. And he says probably true. And so the interviewer asks, so in order, Eisenhower overthrew the conservative nationalist government of Iran with a military coup. He overthrew the first and last democratic government in Guatemala by a military coup and invasion, leading to years of... In Iran, it led to 25 years of brutal dictatorship, finally overthrown in 1979. In Guatemala, it led to massive atrocities, which are still continuing after 50 years. In Indonesia, this wasn't known until recently, but he conducted the major clandestine terror operation of the post-war period up until Cuba and Nicaragua in an effort to break up the Indonesias, strip off the outer islands where most of the resources are, undermine what was then considered as a threat to Indonesian democracy. Indonesia was too free and open. It was allowing a political party of the poor to participate. They were gaining a lot of ground, so Eisenhower supported and helped instigate a military rebellion in the outer islands. And those are just for starters. He goes on to say that Kennedy was one of the worst. Kennedy invaded South Vietnam. During the Eisenhower administration, they blocked the political settlement in 1954 and instituted a kind of Latin American-style terror state, which killed 60 or 70,000 by the end of the Eisenhower period. Kennedy recognized that it couldn't be controlled internally, so he simply invaded. In 1962, a third of the bombing missions that were carried out by the U.S. Air Force, U.S. planes with South Vietnamese insignia, but U.S. pilots. He authorized napalm, began the use of chemical weapons to destroy food crops, and began programs which drove millions into basically concentration camps, into Mexican border camps. He didn't say that, I said that. The case of Cuba, it was a massive campaign of international terrorism which almost led to the destruction of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Johnson expanded the war in Indochina, leaving 3 or 4 million people dead. He invaded the Dominican Republic to block what looked like a potential democratic revolution. He supported the Israeli occupation. Nixon, we don't even have to talk about. We can skip it. Ford endorsed the Indonesian invasion of East Timor, which came about as close to genocide as anything in the modern period. They pretended to oppose it, but secretly supported it. Immediately after the invasion, the U.S. did join the rest of the world in formally condemning it at the Security Council. But the instructions were to render the United Nations utterly ineffective in any actions it might take to counter the Indonesian invasion. His next sentence says the next few months that about 60,000 were killed. Formerly, the U.S. announced the boycott of weapons, but secretly increased the supply of weapons, including the counterinsurgency equipment. So that the Indonesian could consummate the invasion. That's a short period in office, but that's indictable. Seriously, it's a major war crime. Carter increased as the Indonesian atrocities were increasing. They peaked in 1978. Carter's flow of weapons to Indonesia increased. When Congress imposed a human rights restrictions, then there was a human rights movement in Congress to block the flow of advanced weaponry to Indonesia. Carter arranged through Mandale, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, the vice president, to get Israel to send U.S. Skyhawks to Indonesia to enable Indonesia to complete what turned out to be near genocide. In the Middle East, Carter won the Nobel Prize. He just won the Nobel Prize. His great achievement was the Camp David agreements. They were presented as a diplomatic triumph. In fact, they were a catastrophe. At Camp David, the U.S. and Israel accepted Egypt's 1971 offer, which U.S. had rejected, except now that it was worse from the U.S.-Israeli point of view because it included Palestinians. Carter raised aid, military, and other aid in Israel to more than 50% of the total aid worldwide. Israel used it in exactly the way that they said they were going to, as an opportunity to attack their northern neighbor in 1978 and then in 1982. Reagan was the first president to have been condemned by the International Court of Justice in the war against Nicaragua. The Security Council endorsed it in 2 resolutions, both of which were vetoed by the United States. Bush invaded Panama. Which was done in order, he killed about 3,000 people in order to kidnap a disobedient thug who had been supported by the U.S. right through his worst atrocities. Noriega. He was brought to Florida and tried for crimes that he committed, mostly on the CIA payroll. You could go to the details in the war in Iraq, but they were plainly opportunities for diplomatic settlement, which the Bush administration refused to consider. Incidentally, the press would not report, with one single exception, the Long Island Newsday, which did report the whole story throughout accurately and is the only newspaper in the country to have done so. Bush administration attacked. They carried out in a manner which was criminal under the laws of war. They attacked infrastructure. If you attack New York City and you destroy the electrical system, power system, and sewage systems, that amounts to biological warfare, and that's the nature of the attack. Then came a sanctions regime, which was mostly Clinton, but began with Bush. By conservative efforts, killed hundreds of thousands of people while strengthening Saddam Hussein. One of Clinton's minor escapades, very minor, was sending a couple of cruise missiles to the Sudan to destroy what they knew to be a pharmaceutical plant. According to the only estimates we have from the German ambassador and the director of the Near East Foundation, both of them estimated several tens and thousands of deaths from one cruise missile. If somebody did that to us, it'd be regarded as bad news. During the Middle East, Clinton began by declaring past UN resolutions obsolete and anachronistic. And then comes a period called a peace process, except during the peace process, Israeli settlement, which means a settlement paid for by the U.S. taxpayer and supported by U.S. military aid and diplomacy, continually increased. The most extreme year was his last year, the highest level of settlement. Meanwhile, the territories were cantonized, broken up into small regions with infrastructure projects and new settlement. It's under military occupation. If anyone else was doing it, we call it a war crime. Bush 2, we don't have to discuss. So yeah, that's nuts. That's insane. I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly, but This was that was in response to Mustafa A. Sullivan on Twitter. With a picture of Obama, the best president in American history, the best health program of all time, opening millions of jobs, no foreign war, no hate, no immigrant children held. All the people were in love without racial discrimination, which hopefully is a joke. The U.S. government does some is fucking wild.
Yeah, there's just so much in history that just did not go down the way that it's been largely presented to the American public.
Not at all. I mean, we're relatively free. We're definitely the richest nation in all history. But yeah, I mean, like, we continue to just beat the fuck out of the rest of the world. Like, it's really no wonder why why there's a lot of terrorists in the Middle East that want to bomb us. I don't necessarily blame them, because we train them to do it, and then we fuck them over. So yeah, what you been up to?
I'm just shooting some freaking Nazis in Arma 3. Training up for some DayZ here in a little bit. Just loosening up, getting used to this mouse again. This MP40 is not a bad little machine gun. It's pretty sweet, man. I've got a lot of mods installed, and every now and then mods will get sizable updates. Like some of a couple of the maps that I've got have had winter versions added. I'll just notice an Arma 3 workshop update downloading, and then I'll fire up Arma, and lo and behold, I've got a new winter map. It's pretty sweet. And this is a well-made map as too, because I've already said it before. Just these maps keep getting better and better and better.
Like mod maps or officials?
Mod maps. I mean, and I think there's a couple of new official maps out. I don't quite understand this whole. I don't know if it's official DLC or not. But there was recently an official update, I do believe, that added 2 maps. One of them I can't use, but it's in my map list. So there are still developer-made maps out there. There are others that are just absolute beauties, dude. Makes me very hopeful for DayZ. I know there's already a couple of maps out there, like Deer Isle, I think is the prominent user-made map that's out there. And it's being updated regularly. I think they have a vision for the land area that it's going to cover, and they're slowly building it out.
Do you still play any multiplayer?
Arma 3?
Right.
No, Well, I mean, nah, not really. It's been a long time. Used to play a lot on Tanoa. That shit was a lot of fun, playing with other people deep in the jungle, shooting at freaking hostiles out there, and having a squad leader that's actually trying. That shit was pretty fun.
I played Arma 2 multiplayer with you once or twice, I guess. We always played one of those like Team America maps or whatever it was.
Oh man, Team America. Can't remember if it was like Project 1776 or.
Yeah, I can't remember. Is that when they were playing like Green River out of the fucking helicopters or something?
Dude, there was always some wild shit going down. those pilots were crazy. For a while there, there was a usual group of people that would play as the British units, and I would jump in as a grenadier. So I'd have an L-85 with a grenade launcher on the bottom of it. It's just fun to plunk grenades out there and miss from afar.
Yeah, I hadn't played many games lately. I'm still on Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I love that game. It's good. I just recently, so there's a custom version. There's like a custom fork of Proton. I can't remember what it's called. It's like something egg, like General Egg or something like that. That's not it, but probably close enough. But it's just some guy's fork of Proton that has like some custom game patches, and you just extract it to your Steam folder, to a specific Steam folder, and then it becomes a selectable like version of Proton that you can use for your games. And I haven't used it for anything because I haven't touched. I know it's got some GTA 5 features. I don't think it has anything specific to Kingdom Come, but it does run Kingdom Come, so I'm using it with it. So that's good. I just moved the game to my solid state drive to kind of solve some of the stuttering, because on my old ass rig, that game's running it. I mean, I'm lucky when I get a smooth 25 FPS. It's slow, but it's playable. It really is. So I've been playing the shit out of that. I'm really loving that game. The missions are fun. The characters are, so far they do have some pretty good development. There's only like a few characters who I've really dug into. I think I'm like 10 hours into the game, but I went out just doing some herbalism hunting because I'm trying to level up some alchemy. And I ended up in the middle of the woods at night. It's fucking weird. Well, it's not weird. It's really dark. I mean, the game looks beautiful, even on like low settings on my 6-7-year-old computer. It's cool. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. There's a camp. I've rolled up on a bandit encampment, and I'm gonna try and take these guys in the dark. Hopefully, level up my sneak a little bit. And yeah, it's cool though. You can just see their fire kind of raging in the dark. So I'm just sneaking up on them.
So you've described it as Peasant Sim.
Yeah, I call it Peasant Sim.
Has it kind of changed? I mean, what would you call it now? Have you moved up a class?
Technically, I am a knight now, I guess, kind of. But I mean, I'm still kind of treated as a peasant. At least from like the main noble, one of the characters that, well, is now grateful to me because I saved his ass. Kind of a spoiler alert there. Yeah, there's one of the nobles who you end up like, he doesn't like you at all. But yeah, I did end up saving him, so he's grateful now finally. Yeah, so far I'm still a peasant, I think. I do have a little bit of money now. I mean, there's a steep curve the first like 3 in-game days for sure of like, you can't really do shit because you don't have any money. You're just at the mercy of whatever, of the main quest line, kind of.
And is that the that's the tutorial period, right?
Well, even after the tutorial, you still don't have shit. But yeah, including the tutorial for sure. I don't remember when I first started getting money. My first job. Yeah, you end up. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's. I guess it's a good 3+ days in when you finally get like a quest and you're just kind of sent out in the middle of the woods to find some quail that were lost, or some not mockingbirds, some nightingales. And you're kind of wandering through the woods listening for this obnoxious ass bird call. And I think that was one of my major sources of income originally. And that, and just from doing some other quests, and there's a lot of bandits on the side of the road. It's funny because you can see them, like, they're there because they're just standing there waiting for you to pass by, and they're about to jank your shit. And they're brutal too. I mean, they'll just run up and smash your head in. Combat's not easy in this game. Not yet, at least. I don't have a big ass suit of armor yet. I've been digging into Jordan Peterson's podcast lately, and I'm finding it incredibly satisfying. At least his lectures from his book, I'm finding really satisfying. Some of the interviews he has with other people aren't quite so good. I'm not a interview fanatic anyway. But any of his lectures from his 12 Rules of Life tour are definitely worth listening to. I don't know. He speaks a lot about the Bible and stuff. Just kind of the mythology behind it, I guess. I say mythology, but it seems as though he genuinely, I guess he believes it. I don't know. I suppose he does believe it. Jordan believes that morality is derived from religion. Because otherwise, like, there is no, I don't know. He's really fascinated by the fact that not everyone everywhere is completely corrupt all the time. And I think he attributes a lot of that to religion. Even to people who don't really believe in religion, he still kind of attributes some religious qualities to it. I don't know. It's neat. I'm really finding the stories fascinating.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on Jordan. I was watching several of his videos, not this week, but at the tail end of last week. And when I was watching them, I was like, this will be good to mention on the podcast because we'd been talking about his stuff around that time.
Yeah.
Man. Shit. Anyways, yeah, I don't have anything tangible to add. I should. I freaking should. But yeah, I didn't mean to be sitting here all silent. I've just been kicking myself trying. It's been on just the tip of my brain here. And it just had to do with like the recurring themes that he spots in different cultures that people hold as, gosh, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, I fucked that up.
Well, I know he attributes a lot of Christianity to like ancient Egyptian religion. I guess his reason for that is that the Jews came from Egypt. They were like slaves to Egypt. And then when they came out of Egypt, they still held on to a lot of those Egyptian religious beliefs. And that was kind of the basis for a lot of the Christian beliefs.
I would have to disagree with that. I mean, the story of Moses, that's how the Israelites were led out of Egypt.
Yeah. One of the major ones he was telling was the story of like Horus and Set. He says that Satan comes from the Egyptian god Set, because Set's basically the Egyptian god of destruction and chaos. Horus's dad, who I'm blanking on his name, Horus is the Egyptian eye. Basically, Horus is kind of like a Jesus-like figure because Horus has to go like underground. And when he comes up, I don't know. I don't remember. Shit, I'm blanking on that story too. I'm fucking terrible. But basically, it's almost identically a fucking Lion King story, which is fairly religious in nature. You've got a god and his evil, or you've got a lion and his fucking evil brother, and then the lion dies, and then Simba comes along and fights the brother and wins. That's basically the story of Horus and Set, which has a lot of Christian themes running through it as well. I mean, there's a lot of religions, I guess, like you were just saying, that there's a lot of cultures who hold a lot of the exact same values. There's a lot of religions who hold the exact same, well, very similar values, just in kind of different ways. I don't know. It's neat. It's neat listening to him. He's certainly a lot more well-read than I am. But, I mean, all that being said, he seems to be a Christian and believe in the Christian beliefs.
See, I don't know that he is. I think to non-Christians, he definitely appears that way.
I think he claims to be.
That he does. He okay? Well, that's surprising. I didn't know that.
His whole outlook on it is very much that kind of the overarching. I don't know, like the different religions battling each other. He seems to take that as literally gods competing in like the actual real world. Which, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, the Christian God hasn't been the God of the world for all of eternity. I mean, he has been, but he hasn't been in the forefront of people's minds, I mean, with, Greece and Egypt and stuff like that being a prime example of that. They were all, multi-deity religions. But it seems as though a single deity has kind of beaten all of that out. One of the things he was talking about recently was how fascinating it is that the story, just the notion that man was created in God's image. And what he says about that is it's kind of a crazy notion, just because before we held that belief, only like the figureheads of societies were thought to be in the image of God. Like kings were like gods, basically. But the idea that we are all built in the image of God was very revolutionary for our beliefs. I wish I could speak better on it than that. I'm completely like butchering everything that he believes in, I know. I really want to dig more into his lectures on Genesis and the different books of the Bible, because I like what he has to say. I mean, it's definitely fascinating the way that he deconstructs it and explains it and says why this story is important, why this figure is important, things like that. Where kind of, why this information is so important. Because I think he holds Christianity to be a very important religion. I mean, I think he holds the moral values of Christianity in very high regard as far as holding the planet together. He and Ben Shapiro had a talk not long ago about and it had a lot to do with religion, because Ben Shapiro is very well versed in at least Jewish religion. And there's a lot of parallels there with Christianity, of course. I'm probably going to butcher this too. They were talking about the man Israel, who was Jacob, is that right? During his struggle with God, he became Israel because the name Israel means a struggle with God. Yeah, I need to dig some more into it. So I've got
that's the truth. He did Jacob did wrestle with he wrestled with an angel
right
out in the wilderness, and there is conjecture that that may have been Jesus. I can't quite put my finger on that because I haven't had that conversation in about a decade. But yeah, there is some conjecture and some supporting scripture that says that angel may have been Jesus, which is pretty wild considering that's Old Testament and Jesus had not been born into the world in the flesh yet.
And apparently, throughout the rest of the Bible, he's known not only as Israel, but also as Jacob again. Like, he's not always known as Israel, but sometimes he's still called Jacob. I don't know. Sorry, I really suck at that. Dude, so kind of speaking of that, I found this collection of books in my house, and there's a fuck ton of them. And I say a fuck ton of them, there's probably 15 or so of them. There's a dozen. There are a dozen. And there are all kinds of books. Some of them are like old, like American documents dating back to like 1000 all the way up to 1800 or so. One of the books is a bunch of different writings from Aristotle. One of the books is like Poe and Hemingway. But it's crazy. It's just a collection of writings, like really important historical documents and things like that. It's got like Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and all kinds of shit like that in there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It's like a little collection of history lessons.
Kinda.
That is raw materials.
Yeah, just the raw materials themselves, the actual writings. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to kind of digging through them a little bit. One of the books is all, Shakespeare. It's like 3 different Shakespeare plays. So yeah, it's a book series called the Harvard Classics and Collector's Edition. And it's Homer. This one's on Franklin, Woolman, and Penn. So it's Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, The Journal of John Woolman, and The Fruits of Solitude by William Penn. This book is American historical documents from 1000 to 1904, which is The Voyage to Vinland, The Letter of Columbus to Louis de Saint-Angel, announcing his discovery, John Cabot's discovery of North America, the First Charter of Virginia, the Mayflower Compact, Declaration of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, the Treaty with Great Britain, Federalist 1 and 2, Washington's first inaugural address, Washington's farewell address, Treaty with Mexico, Monroe Doctrine, the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln's letter to Miss Bixby, Lee's farewell to his army, Treaty with Russia, all the way up to the Convention between the United States and the Republic of Panama in 1904. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So yeah, it's just there's about a dozen books, all with kind of different themes in them. I don't know. 1 year ago, I wouldn't have given a shit about them, but now I've kind of started really digging into history, and especially American history, but all history really, especially since listening to Dan Carlin and Jordan Peterson too. Because all history is fairly relevant, because of its tendency to repeat itself, no matter what the circumstances around, current year are.
It's current year, dude. It's current year where Chris Cuomo is threatening to throw people downstairs and wreck their shit. Don Lemon is rubbing his balls with his fingers and then sticking his fingers in people's noses and shit.
What?
Dude, yeah.
So, all right. So, Chris Cuomo, what?
Oh, man, yeah. I swear, this kind of crap just has to be some sort of distraction. Yeah, Chris Cuomo was on video threatening to whip some dude's ass because he called him Fredo.
What is Fredo?
It's apparently a reference to The Godfather, and I don't know. He had way too thin skin over that comment, and he threatened to kick that guy's ass.
Like in public?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where this occurred, but and the video was recorded 2 feet away, like right there. Pretty amazing. And the Don Lemon information there, that's all born out of a lawsuit against him. He is being sued by the person that he allegedly shoved his fingers up under his nose after, wiping them under his ball sack beforehand. Way to go, Don.
That's so strange.
It's very strange.
That's also strange. There is an airplane in the road on American Truck Simulator with like emergency vehicles and stuff. I guess it made an emergency landing. That's wild. Yeah, man, there's somebody on Reddit. I don't remember what sub it is anymore. I think it's POTUS Watch, which I've unsubbed from now just because I'm just getting tired of Orange Man Bad. So just tired of the narrative. But this guy's trying like real hard to be some like alpha Democrat, like as if he's got some big ass tires on his Prius or something like that, It's really strange. It doesn't, he's like one step away from calling everybody like, a pansy fag or something, except he's, Orange Man Bad. It's really weird.
Dude, I have not contributed shit this episode. Just some foul language. That's about it.
It's a pretty boring episode. It's me struggling to remember some Jordan Peterson information and
me struggling to just remember anything at all.
Shit.
It's almost like we're Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden up here trying to have a freaking press conference or a debate for that matter. Did you get a look at that little collage of Joe Biden stumbles and stutters?
No, I've not done that yet.
Oh boy. I tell you what. It is amazing that he is the front runner.
I don't really get it. I don't understand what the Democrats think they're doing. You would think that AOC was running for president with all the noise that she's making.
I'm convinced that the people that support her are just such a vocal minority, and they are so loud and obnoxious that the Democrat Party is going to have to break away from those crazies. In order to continue as a party, they're going to have to. But for the time being, when Trump made that little tweet and then Nancy stood up there with them, I mean, they've been drawn closer to the heart of the Democrats. And anyhow,
Yeah.
they're all so silly. Like, nobody takes them seriously. I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether or not to trust the exact numbers, but I mean, I agree with the fact that, yeah, their approval ratings are probably dog crap in their districts.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They aren't senators.
They represent such a sliver.
And they are loud as fuck. So what's this whole deal? What is the whole deal with who was it? Fucking Tlaib trying to go to Israel or something like that?
That's just a freaking circus. I really haven't paid much attention to that. Mainly because it really doesn't fucking matter, you know? I mean, ultimately, they're just trying to kick up shit. And, you know, the fact that Israel's not letting them go or whatever. I don't know. I'll tell you what, though, the funniest thing was that Trump tweeted the real winner. The real winner is her grandma because she doesn't have to see her.
Do what now?
Yeah, dude. Trump has been like fucking with these people, man. That much I know. It's pretty funny, dude. It's pretty funny. He's jerking people's chains. It's great. People are bitching about the economy right now, or the stock market rather. I mean, and Trump said it. I do agree that this is a trade war that should have happened with China a long time ago. I will eat cans of beans before, you know, I bow to the will of communist fucking China. Like, those pricks, it's in their culture to manipulate their currency and twist and fuck the rules and stuff. That's, if you let them fuck you over, they will keep doing it. Like, that is in their culture.
And we don't have to bend to that. There's no reason why we even need to, other than our own people think that Americans are worth $15 an hour, so we need to export our labor to China. That's the only thing they're good for, is raising our own minimum wage. You know, we've completely outlawed manufacturing in the United States because it's not worth Americans' time. But we're going to let them control our economy. It's really stupid. It's really stupid. People they just don't think about what they're actually saying or supporting. They don't think about it at all. The long-term effects of a living wage. We're the richest country in history. The poorest people, the homeless people in America are some of the richest people that have ever lived. And we're bitching about a living wage. It's weird. It's weird.
I think it's got a lot to do with fucking laziness.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with laziness. A lot of it just has to do with virtue signaling, I think. Just look at how virtuous I am. Look at me standing up for other people. What are we doing? Go, please. I'm about to get road rage in a video game. I'm glad I didn't. There was a cop right there. Hey.
No.
Yeah, I guess I'm slack on material because I have kind of dropped out of political subreddits. I'm just, I don't know, a little tired of it. Kotaku in Action still circle jerking about Josh Hawley and circle jerking about, yay, the government's finally fixing our video games. Fucking idiots, man. I've lost faith in those guys. Dude, speaking of Kotaku in Action, all right, I went and saw scary stories to tell in the dark. Because
In the theater?
Yep. Went and saw it in the theater because I was a big fan of the books when I was a kid. You know, it was children horror stories basically. And
that was some scary shit too.
Yeah, it was some really, really creepy stories, and like they were always open-ended, and they really left a lot to your imagination.
And the art was scary as balls.
Yeah, it was. So I go and I see the movie because Guillermo del Toro was kind of I guess he was a visionary behind the project or something like that, and I've honestly never seen any of his movies, but he's got a good track record. He's always had a lot of praise. So that's about all I knew about the movie going into it. I walked out before the end of the movie. It was so fucking stupid. It was bad. It looked bad. The character development was really shitty. They made sure to have their inclusive cast. They made sure to have their little bit about racism. It's just such like by the numbers, man. It's movies by the numbers, dude. Like if you don't have a minority character in your movie that gets harassed by some straight white males, I guess it's just not a movie. And, that part was really contrived. But the story in general was just, it was dumb. I mean, this is why I don't really like scary movies, because they're really shitty movies almost all the time. So I get home and I'm like, maybe I should have checked the reviews on this ahead of time before I went to the movies. Before I let my nostalgia get the best of me, right? So I'm reading reviews about the movie. This movie's got like an 80-something on Rotten Tomatoes. I was like, what the fuck? This movie was god awful. I mean, it was terrible. I literally got up and left before the end of it because it was that bad. There was a CNN review on it. And I might shut this game down to go read that review. But by the end of it, I'm pretty sure the reviewer says that, whether or not this is a good movie is going to depend on the epilogue. Doesn't that mean that they just wrote a review about this movie without watching the movie?
That's what that statement sounds like.
Yeah. And reading the review, I would agree that they have not seen the same movie that I've seen, because the movie that I saw fucking blew. It was not 4 out of 5 stars. But yeah, I mean, they openly admitted to not watching this movie. It's like they saw the trailer for it and wrote a review about the movie. The movie industry is, I don't know. It's falling apart fast. I don't know how they get funding for this bullshit. So yeah, I give it 0 out of 0 stars. 0 out of 1 stars. It's don't go see that fucking movie. Just read the books. Most of the reviews I saw seem to come to the consensus that this is a great like entry level horror movie. But it would appeal to anyone who any sort of horror fanatic would really enjoy this movie. And I like horror movies. I mean, horror movies, I mean, I don't like horror movies because none of them are good, but the good horror movies I do enjoy. I like a good horror movie. I just think that most people really fuck them up. So yeah, I think that's all I've got to contribute. I think that's all you're going to get from me out of this podcast.
Yeah, I'll have my act together next time. Jeez. Sorry.